It is time.
Hey movie fans, welcome to October, the month of horror, the Halloween month. So to celebrate this whole month will be nothing but horror / Halloween / videos of that nature to get you in the Halloween spirit. So we'll start off with a really easy one, with the top 5 Scooby-Doo movies. Why Scooby-Doo? Because honestly, if you're anything like me, a child of the 90s, Scooby-Doo is your real first introduction to the suspense / kind of scary genre. And while I didn't discover the horror genre until my college years, I grew up loving Scooby-Doo and the whole mystery and suspense aspect. Plus, anytime we get to talk about Scooby-Doo, is a good day in my book. I'm sure you agree because you clicked on this video. Thanks for that! So, starting us off at number 5 of the best Scooby-Doo movies is Scooby-Doo meets Batman. Yeah, this is just a straight guilty pleasure for me, so it's my list and I put it on there. Do something different if you don't like it. So this was part of a whole series of Scooby-Doo meets, where Scooby-Doo and the gang meet a famous celebrity, or in this case, duo or multiple characters like Batman, Robin, Joker, etc., where they meet various celebrities of the time. Some are timeless, like Batman or the Harlem Globetrotters. Others are a bit dated, like when Scooby-Doo met Jonathan Winters, which most of you don't know who that is. But it was really fun to see Batman, the world's greatest detective, team up with Scooby-Doo and the gang, the greatest detectives of Coolsville. Basically, seeing that crossover and interaction was really cool, of two of my favorite childhood things teaming up for one cause, and it was nice having the same voice cast that I knew and loved from both the 60s Batman, which was my first real exposure to Batman, teaming up with Scooby-Doo, which was just the show that all kids watch. Still to this day, if we can find it, we'll watch it. Hint hint, Cartoon Network. At number 4, we have Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost. Now this is an interesting entry because this marked an odd time in the Scooby-Doo franchise. Not so much odd, but decidedly darker. And I'm not talking about the Raja Gosnell dark times where we decided to go live action. Let's not talk about that again. No, this was when the Scooby-Doo villains, like the Great Unmaskings, actually dealt with real things, whether that be voodoo, witch doctors, or witches, or zombies, or aliens even. This was the part where there was no one behind the mask. It was actual mystical forces at play, and the animation style and overall tone of the Scooby-Doo movies at this time was a bit darker, but it was welcomed. It wasn't so dark that it alienated kids. Well, not all of them, but we'll get to that one. It was really fun to see this different take of more serious but still fun, as well as introducing what would end up being mainstays to the Scooby-Doo franchise with the Hex Girls, who made their first appearance in this movie and then would make subsequent appearances throughout scattered Scooby-Doo movies down the road. At number 3, we have Scooby-Doo and the Alien Invaders. Now this is another one that dealt with that darker but still fun tone, but yet peel back the mask, and it's exactly what you thought it was going to be, not someone behind the mask. This actually dealt with alien invaders. Now granted, the aliens that were invading the town were somebody behind a mask, but there were some aliens actually in the movie. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen that, I won't say who the aliens are, but if you know who they are because you've seen the movie, it's hard to forget. The movie, it was a little bit different, as are any good Scooby-Doo movies. They're a little bit different, but they all have a good mystery, and this had a good mystery, a good story. You can clearly tell that they had a higher budget as opposed to the original Scooby-Doos, which you could tell that the only thing that they animated was the characters, because the backgrounds don't move, but the characters do, which always was weird to me as a kid. Like, you could tell what was going to move because the artist decided to actually do something with that. Alien Invaders was a really fun and unique spin on the whole Area 51, Space Invaders, schmaltzy sci-fi, old school feel, but added more contemporary flavor with the whole Scooby-Doo aspect, and it was really fun. At number 2 is probably the one I would argue is the most creative Scooby-Doo movie we've gotten to date. Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase. So what happens is Scooby and the gang have this IT technician, video game programmer friend, and he's making a Scooby-Doo video game, which sounds really cool in concept of. the Scooby-Doo gang is modeled, and they are placed in a video game with them facing off against all their old foes. And they somehow get sucked into the game itself and have to play through the different levels of the video game. And eventually they come across their own counterparts in video game form, so it's kind of meta to see Shaggy meet Shaggy and Fred meet Fred, but in different outfits, because you could tell that the characters don't look the same as when they first debuted in the late 60s. And it was really cool to see Scooby-Doo's gang team up with Scooby-Doo's gang to take down old school villains that you knew and loved from the original cartoons. And that's not even taking into account the villain of the movie, who was actually really fun and unique in and of himself, who's basically a hybrid of Static Shock and the Silver Surfer, just combined into one. He's got this really weird and bizarre voice, but really cool overall aesthetic design. And I really, really enjoyed Cyber Chase's many different aspects from the video game, with kind of Wreck-It Ralph dynamics of going level to level and getting really meta with meeting Scooby-Doo meets Scooby-Doo. And the #1 best Scooby-Doo movie of all time is the one that's probably still traumatizing kids to this day, Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. Now, I would say I have fond memories of this one, but I have memories of this one. So Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island is the gang is kind of more or less recruited by this older lady and this younger lady to come to their plantation in the bayou down south. It's never really specified, I don't think. And of course, Scooby and Shaggy are tempted there because they have the hottest peppers in the world down there. And they kind of recruit them and say that some weird things are going on, because at this time, Daphne's trying to run her own reality show. It's bizarre, but it's how they get the story rolling. So they're just like, we have this haunted house, we want you to investigate. And that's the beginning of the gang's problems. They discover that the whole area is infested by zombies, and genuinely terrifying ones. So they eventually catch a zombie, and they're just like, alright, that was an easy paycheck, Fred, unmask it. In the process, Fred rips its head off. It's not a mask, he legitimately rips a dude's head off his body. As a child, that is traumatizing. It still is. And from there, it gets really, really freaky. You think you know where it's going because you've seen so many Scooby-Doo movies up to this point, but then at that point, it does a complete 180 of your expectations, and it's probably the creepiest and just most unsettling Scooby-Doo movie to this day. As a kid, you expect every villain to be revealed of, okay, you are just a bad guy in a mask, I have nothing to be afraid of. This was the first Scooby-Doo movie to say, this is real. This is actually happening. There is no bad guy behind a mask. This is something to be afraid of. And that was radically different. It was unnerving because it wasn't Scooby-Doo at that point. However, it never got too scary, minus some moments of sheer terror, because the animation style was definitely the first of that darker period that I talked about earlier, and it really, really worked as a lasting impact. You remember this Scooby-Doo movie more than the rest of them because of how much it stayed with you, of how different it was for its time, and how creepy it was. But at its core, it was still a Scooby-Doo movie. It was scary, but you knew it was going to be okay at the end of it, and you were going to have a fun time throughout because you knew at the end of the day you were safe. And that's essentially what Scooby-Doo was all about. So, what did you guys think of my top 5 best Scooby-Doo movies? Comment below and give me your thoughts on your favorite Scooby-Doo movies. Well, if you like what you see and want to see more, subscribe to the channel, or follow me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram at Uncharted Media. Stay sharp, movie guys and gals!